Chesed Aleph, and 4 lines from the top. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa says, Man deshada pisa ladikla. Somebody threw a clump of dirt at a date tree. V'asar tamri, and he knocked off dates. V'azal tamri, and the dates went down. V'katal, and they killed somebody. Heavy dates. This is the machlekes of Rebbe and the Rabban, because we said yesterday in the Mishnah that Rebbe holds that you hit the what the Torah says when it says that the v'nashal barzal eitz means that you hit the tree and then a piece of the tree bumps off and hurt somebody else and kills somebody else. And according to Rabbanan, it's you were hitting at the tree and a piece of the axe went off. So according to Rebbe, it has to be the next step. So over here, you hit the decal and the dates fall down. So that's according to Rebbe. That's the case of being chayav galus. And the Rabbanan hold that no, you'll be patur from galus in that case because that's a step removed. In fact, more pshita, it's pashat, it's mamish the same machlekes. More no. Now the tema you'd have a having to say koyach koyach dami. It's like his koyach koyach. It's a next step, even according to Rebbe, and even according to Rebbe, you'll be pater kamash v'lan. You'll still be chayiv. Taisus is masber over here that the difference between the havamin, or the reason why this should be like koyach koyach that we'd have havamin is because by eitzim ispakeya you take the axe, you bang the piece of wood. And as you're banging the piece of wood, that impact will go and knock off a piece of wood, chip off, and it'll hit the person. But over here, you're still holding the axe. But over here, you take the dirt, and you took a clump of mud, a clump of dirt, and you threw it at the date. That's 20 feet later. It's like you're not holding it anymore. Right. So that's maybe koyach koyach. And the Gemara says no. That even according to Rebbe, that's not koyach koyach. For the Gemara, so what case would be koyach koyach? Ela koyach koyach l'Rebbe heichim mishkachs. What would be the case of koyach koyach according to Rebbe? You're going to shad a pisa. You took a piece of dirt of omachi legarma, and you hit the branch that the dates are on. Vazal garma, and the branch went to omachi lekavasa, and that hit the dates. Vazal tamri, and you knocked off the dates. V'asal tamri, and then the dates went v'katal, and they killed somebody. So it's an extra step. That's the case of koyach koyach according to Rebbe, and that's the case of Bichai. According to Rabbanan, it's just like you're a pater by the case of threw it directly at the dates. You'll be pater if you threw it at the branch. Zak the Mishnah, Masnisan. Somebody throws a stone into Rosh Hashanah, v'harag, and he killed somebody. Harei zagala, he goes to galus. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says. If the guy threw a stone and nobody was there, and then before the stone landed, somebody walked right into its path, and then the stone killed him, right? But there was nobody there when he first threw it. Then harei pater, he's pater. Zarak is evan lechatzerei v'harag. If he threw a stone into his own chatzer and he killed somebody, if the nizik had rishus to be there, then the person goes to galus. And if the nizik did not have rishus, doesn't go to galus. How do you know? Shnemer, like the pasuk says, and we already referenced this on yesterday's daf. Somebody who comes onto his friend in a forest, just like a forest is rishus for both the nizik and the mazik to be there, afkal rishus l'nizik or l'mazik l'ikanas l'sham. We're only talking about a place where both the nizik and the mazik are allowed to be there. Yatzachatz that you're chayiv galus. Yatzachatzer bal habayis that excludes the chatzar of the person himself, a private chatzar, his own private chatzar. Shein rishus l'nizik l'ikanas l'sham, where the nizik does not have rishus to go in over there, and therefore in such a case he'll be pater. Abishal says. Just like when it says chatavas eisim, it says in the pasuk, to chop wood. So the Torah is teaching us something over there. Just like chatavas eisim, chopping wood is a rishus, it's not a mitzvah. You can do it if you want to do it. You don't have to do it. You don't want to do it. Afkal rishus, it comes to include anything that's a rishus, and the person killed somebody by mistake while he's doing something that's a rishus, not a mitzvah. Yatsa ha'ava makes penoi.
The person goes to galus.
That person goes to galus. Yatsa ha'ava makes penoi. This excludes a father who is hitting his son, a teacher is hitting his talmud, and a shliach bezdin. In all these three cases, it's not a rishus, it's a mitzvah. The Gemara is going to talk about what exactly the mitzvah is, And in those cases, if a person kills somebody, hits somebody, his talmid or shliach bezin hits the person, his bezin told him that, and the person and he hits him, kills him b'sheigig, they won't be chayav galus. Zak the Gemara.
In those days, today, you go to jail.
Yep. Zak the Gemara. L'shus harabim mezid. And the truth is, today maybe you should go to jail because today hitting a talmid or hitting a kid is not very effective, generally speaking. So you're doing something to make yourself feel better, right? But when I was a kid, hitting me, that was pretty effective. But
You're the host of it.
in my days, they still hit. In my days, at least, yes, and it was pretty effective.
In my shivs, they didn't do it.
Yeah, they did till at least fifth or sixth, at least fifth grade. Yeah. I'm not saying it was a terribly good thing, but it worked. It was to work.
They work.
Okay, and the truth is, it wasn't good for everyone. But so yeah, there is that. But Al Kapanim, Zak the Gemara, Frak the Gemara, Kasha. The Gemara says the first case of the Mishnah was somebody threw an Evan, a stone, into Rosh Hashanah and he killed the ghost of Galus. Frak the Gemara, Rosh Hashanah, you throw a stone into Rosh Hashanah, Mazid who? You do it, that's Mazid. You can't throw stones in a public place, right? You go into Times Square and just throw a stone, you know you're going to hit somebody. How can you be considered going to Galus? It's amazing. Rav Shmuel Bar Yitzchak says no, it's not pshat that he was trying to throw a stone into Rosh Hashanah. The guy has a wall that's abutting Rosh Hashanah, and he has to demolish it. He has to build a new one, and he's doing repairs or trying to bulldoze it. And a stone, without his intention, goes into Rosh Hashanah and kills somebody. That's the case. In fact, the Gemara, no, he should look into it. He should keep an eye on, make sure that he's not throwing any stones in a place where people are working. If the Gemara, he's doing it at night. So at night there's less people in Shashrab. In fact, the Gemara, there's still people. At night also, because I said there are people in Rosh Hashanah, so maybe it's not as many, but there's still going to be people there. You have to be careful. Where it says his wall he's putting his wall into an ashpa, into a garbage dump, or a place where people go to the bathroom. It's both, and excuse me, and in such a situation he would have been. It makes sense that he wouldn't have expected a person to be there, and it's a shaking. In fact, wait a second. What's the case of this ashba? If you have a lot of people, and not a lot of people, if the rabbim go into there, they're regularly there. Peshehu is a pesheya. If the rabbim don't go there, anasu, because he's not supposed to expect anyone to be there. It's an ashba that people use for the bathroom at night, and they don't do it during the day.
What's the he should make an attempt to make sure that 100% is safe. Just saying is not enough of a sort of story. If
a person, it's also not into Rosh Hashanah. We're saying that we're saying this ashba right now is not like a regular Rosh Hashanah like Times Square. It's a little alleyway on the side where people dump. In the city where they have the little alleyways where people dump their garbage, right? It's more like that, and it's not a place where people go. So if he's going and he's knocking over his wall, and it's right over there, then it'll be okay. I just want to point out that Tosfos says that once we came onto this teretz of ashpa asui lefanis balayla and not asui lefanis babiyim, then you don't have to be relying anymore on the case of seiser of kaislai. So forget the seiser kaislai. The guy is throwing something into an ashpa. He's going and he's let's say he's out in the wilds. Right, and he's doing target practice, right? Yeah. Right. He doesn't have to expect anyone else to be there. So that's what the Gemara is saying. It's an ashpa. That's the Gemara's question. If it's shchicha barabim, then he does have to expect some people to be there, and then pashehu. And if it's lo shchicha barabim, then he doesn't have to expect anyone. And then onasu. It's not his fault, right? He didn't know something, right? Maybe he couldn't even see somebody there. It's at night, right?
What's the sort of shchicha barabim?
What?
Not saying it's impossible. It's not honest.
They're not commonly there. They're not commonly there.
You're right. But I can't call it an honest.
It's a shaygig. Oh, you're saying because Lo Shchich Barabba must mean that there's nobody there. People don't go there.
Remember, this is far in Makkos that if you're chopping your wood, you should at least make like a sign around it, like a danger area. You know, to make it for the people.
Yeah, but this, by the way, this guy might not be, excuse me, it might not be a localized thing. Maybe he's not chopping wood. Maybe he's throwing stones. He's playing bowling. I don't know.
The Marcel here says Makkos, no? If you're chopping your wood, and no one's around, you still have to make a wall, a danger zone around.
I don't remember seeing that. It could be it's there and I just don't remember. Okay. I don't know. We'll see if Hashem. If it's there, we'll get up to it. I don't think the Gemara said it until here.
Okay, but I think it's looking that there.
Okay.
It's far like that.
Okay, so we'll see.
They can't. It's like a sugar cover amazing. You should have done everything possible.
So we're going to see such situation. That we're going to see.
You should have done something to make sure that 100% is safe. Because the sugar cover amazing. Because why? If it could happen, you still have to make every precaution before and they're going to do it. Okay. So let's wait until we get to that. So what's the teretz over here? Amar Papa on the second word line. It's an ashba that people use to go to use for the men's room at night. And people don't use it during the day. Maybe it's close to the city, close to the houses. And then some people do go during the day also. He's not a pashea because people don't use it. It's not a place that's used during the day. It's still not an oinus because it's not totally not used that you should say that he didn't have to expect anyone to be there. Because there are people who every so often come by, and therefore he should have realized that maybe somebody's going to come by. Yeah. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Aimer v'chulu. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah that says Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said that if a person threw a stone and somebody walked into its path and got killed, then he won't be chayiv galus to be pater. Tarabban, the Rabban Lord. Umatzah. But talks about that. He throws off the roof, and the guy puts his shirt out there. And
yeah.
What the B'shas Ma'isa?
Okay. Okay, so you're on target here.
I'm not cheating over here.
Okay. The Rabbanan learned. Umatzah prat l'mamti asatzma. When it says umatzah, well, the pasuk says, "Ashiyavus reu biyar lachtav eitzim, v'nashal habarzel min eitz." The barzel fell off the wood, the pashto like the Rabbanan. Umatzah esrei, when it found his friend, v'meis, and the guy died, and he goes to Galus. So the Gemara says umatzah, it found his friend. That excludes somebody who brought himself to be there, who made himself available to it. In other words, in other words, the person threw it, and then the second person walked into its path. That's prat l'mamti esatzma. That doesn't go to galus. From here, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, the kibla. If after the Evan left the person's hand and somebody else walked into its path, somebody stuck his head out and hit his head, Pater is Pater. Are you going to tell me that when it says matzah, it means meikara? What's going on over here? Our pasuk says, the stone found, or the barzel found the friend, right? Which means that the guy was there all along, excluding if the guy was not there all along, right? Yeah. So it may kar mashma that the guy was there all along. Vermini I'll ask you stira. Umatzah prat lematzoi shlayimka barachak vigal bakarev barav vigal biyafa. What's going on over here? This is the pasuk that says that when a person sells his steachuza, that he could redeem it. So the pasuk says, a person doesn't have a goyal, he doesn't have a relative who will buy back the field for the family. They see goyada, but he's able to afford it. He's
to raise the money for
it. And he finds the amount of money he needs to redeem the karka. Okay? Right. And the Gemara says, umatzah prat lematzoi, as it excludes that if he had the money before. He can't go and sell, let's say the field that he wanted to redeem, the one he had sold before, was right next to his house. So he's not allowed to go and sell a field that he has 10 miles away and he had all along, and sell that field that he had all along and now redeem the one that's very close. Or barav yigal biyafa, sell a field that was bad and redeem a good one. if he had the field that was bad all along. In other words, what the pasuk is saying over here is that if a person was forced to sell his steyachusa, right, then then he cannot go and redeem it with assets that he's not supposed to sell his steyachusa, right? But he did because he was stuck. He needed money. So why did he need money? Because he didn't have any other money, right? So if he sells it, Visiga Yadai, he has to reach now new financial ability, and Umatza now find Ktei Gulasai. But if he had the amount beforehand, it was just not so convenient, and that's why he didn't sell it. But for whatever reason, he didn't sell that one that was further away, and he sold the closer one, which maybe he shouldn't have done. Or he sold the good one instead of the bad one, and now he wants to take the bad one he had, or the one that's farther away that he had, and sell that and use that money to redeem this steyachusa. That means he had that value all along. If he had that value all along, you cannot go and redeem the steyachusa with that money. Right. So over here it's clear when it says matzah, it means it's excluding what he had already, right? I'm sorry, when it says matzah, it means that he found something new, not what he had already. Right. That's what prat l'matzah, if he had it all along. So it's the opposite of what we said before, that a matzah means me'ikar mashma. And for the Gemara...
It means Rashi over, I'll tell you that it's a kasha. What happened? The guy said, Ani Otzum, he goes to his field, and bingo, he finds money to redeem it. Mm-hmm. Has it happened?
So what does Rashi say? I don't remember.
No, I don't remember. No, they asked on the Rashi. What's
on Rashi. Okay.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
He sold his field, doesn't have money. All of a sudden, bam, he has money. Where did the money come? Where did it come from? He won the lottery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so then, I'll
look it up.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah.
So the Gemara says, so what's pshat? Rava says, I'll tell you pshat. Hacham inyani dekra, v'hasam inyani dekra. It depends on the context. Hasam inyani dekra, by the case of Gustei Achuz, it's the context of the pasuk. Umatza dumya devesiga yadai. When it says umatza, the pasuk is vesiga yadai umatza. So the two things are the same. That ma hisiga yadai, just like when it says he was able to afford it now. Mehashta, it means from now. Before he didn't have it, now he has. Af matzanami mehashta. So when it says matzah, also it means now he has a new field or something to sell, some new assets. But as opposed to if he had it all along. Hacham in Yari Dekra, but over here by somebody kills B'shaygeg. It's also to make sense in the context. When it says matzah, it's just like the yar that it's talking about that you're in. Ma yar midi di isei meikara, just like the forest has been here all along. Afu matzanami midi di isei meikara. When it's talking about the person that was found by the rock hit him in the yar, it means the guy was there all along and then the rock hit him, as opposed to if he walked into a place and the rock hit him afterwards, when he walked into a place that it wasn't original, the rock wasn't at the point that it was thrown. Okay, Zaktamar Vaiter. Hazarik is Evan. This is the Gemara says this is the case of, first thing the Mishnah said, the case of somebody who threw a stone into his chatzar and it killed someone, and then the Gemara said all the way at the end, Avashal says a new limud machatavas eitzim rishus afkal rishus, to exclude an av makas pnai or avroi des talmidai and a shliach bezdin. So Amalei Humer Rabbanan l'Rava. One of the Rabbanan said to Rava, "Mimayim mechatavas eitzim rishus, dim mechatavas eitzim sukkah." Who said Who says that the chatavas eitzim that it says in the pasuk, and we're translating that as chatavas eitzim or rishus? Who says that's what it's talking about? Maybe it's talking about chatavas eitzim of a mitzvah. He's going to chop wood for the mizbeach. He's going to chop wood to make a sukkah. He said in the pasuk is saying, you read the pasuk like this: Rashi Yavi Yisrael Biyar. If you met your friend in a forest, lachtav eitzim, and you were chopping wood for a mitzvah, you were chopping wood for the maracha, let's say, to build your sukkah, and then he killed the friend by mistake, the person goes to galus. So how do you know to be mamayit that somebody who's doing it l'tzarech mitzvah, that he's going to not go to galus? Maybe he should go to galus. So Zak the Gemara says the Homer abundance kasha and Rava. And even though he was doing it l'tzarech mitzvah, the Torah says the person should go to galus. Amar lei, so Rava said back to this Rahum Rabbanan, Kivin de matzah chatav lav mitzvah. Since if you're, let's say, you're going to make a sukkah, and you come and and there's a delivery from Home Depot right on your front doorstep. It's got all the 2x4s and everything that you need. You don't have to go and chop wood. Same thing with eitzim for the maracha, right? It doesn't have to be done lishma. If a person, if some other through some other way other than chopping wood, the wood came to the Beis Hamikdash, they could use that for the maracha. So there's no mitzvah to do it. Hashtanami lav mitzvah. So over here also, even though you're doing it for l'maisa, you are doing it for the mitzvah, but it's not an actual. You're doing it for the mitzvah of having stuff to burn on the maracha or having a sukkah. But that's not part of the maisa of the mitzvah to say that in such a situation a person will be chayiv. Pater from galus. Yes. Ravina said the kasha to Rava, Yatza ha'ava makes benoi. I'm sorry, chayiv. Matzah lav mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah to chop the wood, and therefore, if he's chopping the wood for the maracha, he would have to go to galus. Masha ein kain, if he's av haroides benoi, av haroides tamidoi, av makes benoi, or shliach besden, they'll be pater. Right? The whole kasha was you should say that even a tzarech mitzvah will be chayiv galus, and we're saying no. Chativ seitzim is never going to be a tzarech mitzvah, right? Because in matzah chatav einei chaytev, therefore that's the case. The person goes to galus. But a case of ava makas v'noi and rav haroides tamidai, they will not go to galus. What was that?
It's amazing.
Ava haroides v'noi. Sorry, Avamakas B'nai Rav Tzmid is a mitzvah, so it's not a rishus. That's why they don't go to galus. It's not a mitzvah to kill him, but it's a mitzvah to be miyaser, and the Gemara is going to talk about it. In fact, the Gemara, Esver Ravina Ravina has the kasha to Rava Yatza Avamakas B'nai Rav Reides Tamidish Deich Bezdin. Where our Mishnah itself says that a father who hits his son, or Rabbi who punishes his talmid, and a shliach bezdin will all be pater from going to galus because it's a mitzvah, right? Ravina, Lima, why don't you say the same svara that you said before? Kivan delu gamer lav mitzvah. Let's say the kid, the kid or the talmid, he learned, he knew how to do it. He was not misbehaving. It's not a mitzvah then to hit him. Hashtanami lav mitzvah. So over here also, it's not a mitzvah. Just like we said before, that if you found the wood chopped, it wouldn't be a mitzvah to chop it. Over here also, it's not a mitzvah for a Rebbe to his Talmud, for example, or a father to his son. Where it says no, Hasam afagav the mitzvah. Over there, even though he would have learned, it's still a mitzvah to give a kid a zetz every once in a while. Yeah. Why? This is the old generation. This may not be the case anymore, unfortunately. The ksiv Yasser bin Chav Yanichecha v'yitin madanam l'nafshecha. Pasuk says in Mishlei, you should punish your son, and he'll be nach to you, and he'll give pleasure to your soul. In other words, it's sometimes the kid needs to be directed in the right way with some corporal punishment. That's Rava's first teretz. So it says even though you're trying to say Kivan dil gamer lav mitzvah, no, it's still a mitzvah. It's always a mitzvah, and therefore it makes sense to exclude it from galus. Frak the Gemara. I'm not frak the Gemara. Zak the Gemara. Hadar Marava. Then Rava changed his mind and he said no. Lav mel sihidamri. What I said before, it's not. Rashi explains. It's not he's saying it's not true. He's saying I could have said better. You know, I used to have a chavrusa. It was very annoying. I would say something. He was smarter than me, right? And he'd say, "No, Moshe, say better." I'm like, I said the best I could, right? Yeah. But Rav is saying over here, I had something better I could have said. The pasuk says, when a person comes to his friend in the forest. Now, the yar di boy aisle vi boy loy aisle. Going into the yar itself is a rishus. You could go into yar, you could not go into yar. There's no chiv to go into a yar. So v'isag daitach mitzvah misag lo yayil. And if it was a mitzvah to go into the yar, then how could he not go? And you're saying asher means if you go, right? So the pasuk itself is saying it's a rishus. If you're telling me that it's considered a mitzvah, this chativas eitzim that Humir Rabbanan asked all the way at the beginning. No, you see, it's not, because otherwise it couldn't have said the word asher. Amalei Ravad Bar Rava. Ravad Bar Rava said to Rava, based on this question that you have now, this new mahalach that you just said, every time that it says asher yavi Yisrael biyar, it means if he wants, he could go, and if he doesn't want, he doesn't have to go. It's a rishus. Is that true? If that's so, it says ish asher yitma v'lo yischata, a person who that became tamei and he didn't become tahar. And the pasuk continues. This is the psukim of he went to the base of Migdash. Migdash Shem Timei, he's going to get karas, right? So it's totally, it means a person who became tamei in a situation where if he wanted to become tamei or he didn't want to become tamei, he didn't have to become tamei, but it was his choice. That's asher. Just like we're saying asher over here, it means it's your choice to go into the forest or not. If that's the case, then meis mitzvah d'loisagid mitma. Let's say the guy became tamei with a meis mitzvah. He's walking along the road and he sees a meis mitzvah. The halacha is a person is mechuyev to bury the meis mitzvah, and if a person is mechuyev to bury the meis mitzvah, he had to become tamei. So now he had no choice about becoming tamei. But he walks into the Beis Hamikdash. Since it says asher, it's coming to exclude someone who had to become tamei for a mitzvah, and he won't be chayiv on tumas mikdash v'tash. He'll be pater from karas. Hachinami the pater. You're going to tell me. You're going to say he's going to be pater on tumas mikdash v'kadashav? Of course, that doesn't make any sense. He's tamei. He went to the Beis Hamikdash. So the Gemara says, no, shani hasam. The Vidr is different. The pasuk says, tamei yiyah. Mikol Makam. There's a separate ribui to say that he's going to be that whoever he is tamei, whether he's tamei from a mitzvah or tamei from a rishus, he's going to be chayiv if he goes into the Beis Hamikdash. Frak the Gemara, you can't say that. You need that tamei for something else. Frak the Gemara, tamei yield rabbis tful yaim. Tamei is to tell you that a person who's a tful yaim, that means he became tamei and he went to be tayvul already. And he has to wait for Herav Shemesh now to pater him to eat Truma, then to go into Beis Hamikdash, right? Just like we had in the first Mishnah Brachas, Daf Beis Hamikdash. So it's coming to be Marba Tful Yom, that a Tful Yom who goes into the Beis Hamikdash, that's still considered tamei enough to get karas. And Tumasei Bai, when it says the pasuk Tumasei Bai, the rabbis Mechusar Kippurim, to be Marba somebody, one of the four karbanas, the Tuma, that the person will become after they become tahar, they still need to bring a carbon to finish their whole tahara process, and that's a zava, yaledes, and a matzera. So they're mechusar kippurim. If they go into the Beis Hamikdash, they're going to be chayiv also. So that's coming to be marba. The pasuk of Tumas Bai is coming to be marba that. But l'maisa, we see that from tamei you need it to be marba tful yom. So how could you say that tamei is coming to tell you that it's whether a person is tamei als a mitzvah or tamei als a rishus, he's saying it's going to be the same thing, and he's chayiv on tumas mikdash v'kadasha. Amar lei ana me'oid kamina. I'm learning it from not from tamei. I'm learning out from elsewhere in that same pasuk. It said, it says, es mishkan Hashem timi v'nechshan nafshim Yisrael ki meini d'leizar klav tamei yeh oid tumasei bai. It didn't have to say that. It could have said tamei yeh tumasei bai. What's the oid? That extra oid is coming to tell you that whoever became tamei, if it became tamei al mitzvah, became tamei al rishus, either way he's going to be chayiv on tumas mikdash v'kadasha. That is one mahalach in the sugya. Some said this whole back and forth with Ravina and the Humar Rabbanan a little differently on the following sugya. And it's funny. It's a sugya of Shabbos and Shemitah. It says in the following. The pasuk says, "B'charish v'katzer tishbais." In the charish, the plowing, and in the planting, you should rest. Now, this pasuk is a little ambiguous. The whole pasuk reads like this: Sheshtam tavaid, you should work. Literally 6 days you should work. V'yem shvi tishbais, and on the 7th day, sounds like Shabbos, you should rest. B'charish v'katzer tishbais. In the plowing or the planting or the harvesting, you should rest. So Pashta sounds like Pashta sounds like talking about Shabbos, right? That's the Pashta Pshat in the pasuk. However, Rabbi Kiva doesn't learn like that. Rabbi Kiva says,
He goes right away and he doesn't even say it. But Rashi explains, Rabbi Akiva holds, it's a davar pasha to him that this pasuk is not talking about Shabbos, it's talking about Shemitah. Why? Because if it's talking about specifically Yom HaShvi, the Shabbos, then why does it say Charash v'Katzar specifically? There's 37 other malachas. What's up is Charash v'Katzar? Must be when it says Shesham Tavd V'Shvi Tishbeis, it's talking about the Shemitah cycle, right? And we know sometimes we call a Yom a year, right? So he says that we're talking about the Charash and the Katzar of Shemitah. However, there's another thing. You don't need to be talking about the Charash and Katzar of Shemitah either. You have a different pasuk for that. The Rabbi Akiva is about to bring down. It says Sad Chalei Sizar V'Char Chalei Sizmar. So then why do you need the Charash and Katzar over here? Rabbi Akiva Aimer Ein Tzarich Lemer Charash Shvius V'Katzar Shvius. So first Tanakh is we're not talking about Shabbos, we're talking about Shvius. And if it's saying you're talking about Shvius, it doesn't have to say Charash and Katzar of Shvius itself. So what's the pasuk coming to be Marbeh? It's coming to be Marbeh. You don't have to say that it's talking about Shvius itself because Shvius itself we already have psukim. Must be it's coming to be marbeh that if somebody plows before Shemitah in a way that will be mahana the plants on Shemitah, or close to Shemitah, right? Or somebody goes and harvests after Shemitah the plants that grew already, a significant portion, a third of it grew during Shemitah, and now a person's harvesting that. He has the same halachas for Shemitah on those things. You're not allowed to do those things. And if you do harvest it, you're going to have to deal with the ula halachas of Kedusha Shvius.
Right.
So that's what he learns it's talking about. Okay? Rabbi Shmuel Omer, no. Rabbi Shmuel says, Rabbi Shmuel is not convinced by Rabbi Akiva's argument, and he says this pasuk is exactly what it sounds like it's talking about Shabbos. Okay? Shabbos as in the seventh day of the week, not Shabbos or Shemitah. 7 days of the week, the seventh day is Shabbos, and it's coming to tell you something else. A special halach in Shabbos, a p'tur, that there's a case where you're allowed to do chil Shabbos. What's that calling on? Rabbi Shmuel says, Ma charash rishus, af katzar rishus. The pasuk is telling you over here that olimud from charash to katzar. Katzar, there's times when it's a mitzvah. So you don't know when it says katzar over here, what it's talking about. But it compares katzir to charash. And charash is never a mitzvah. Charash is always going to be a rishas. What's the case of charash? That's a mitzvah. So charash is always going to be rishas. So you learn out from here, ma charash rishas, af katzir rishas. Just like on Shabbos, when it says charash, you're not allowed to plow, it means a rishas. So too, when it says katzir, you're not allowed to harvest, it means when you're harvesting for a rishas. However, yatsa katzir ha'aymer. It's excluding the harvesting for the carbon aimer. Shu mitzvah, that's a mitzvah. That is Deicha Shabbos, according to Rabbi Shmuel. You're allowed to go and cut for the aimer on Shabbos, or Yantif, whatever. Excuse me. So on that, Amalei Humar Rabbanan Rava, one of the Rabbanan said to Rava, Mechetesi, on this limud, B'mai the Charish Dershus. Who says when the pasuk is saying, B'charash of Katzar, it's talking about a Charisha of Rishas, when it's not a mitzvah. The mitzvah. Maybe it's coming to talk about when you're plowing for the plants that you're going to use for the omer, which is a mitzvah. Which means that the pasuk, when it says charash, is talking about even a mitzvah, and therefore katzar is even a mitzvah. And the pasuk is saying whether the charash and katzar is rishus or whether the charash and katzar is a mitzvah. In all such cases, tishbais, you cannot let it be mechal Shabbos. And then the pasuk would be saying that even for the K'tzir Ha'aymer, you're not allowed to be Mechal Shabbos. So, what's Rabbi Shmuel's raya? That's his question. Amar lei, so Ravina said back to this Humir Rabbanan. Rava said back to this Humir Rabbanan. Amar lei, kivan de matzacharosh eine chayresh. Since if let's say you wanted to make sure that you have fruit tuah for the carbonaimer, right? And you came to the field, and it's all plowed already, right? There was a nace, right? Or for whatever reason, it's all plowed, right? Your neighbor plowed it for you by mistake. Now, if it's a mitzvah to plow, then you should go and plow, right? But there's no mitzvah to plow, right? Even the matzah charish, eine charish, you don't have to plow. Lav mitzvah, you see, it's not a mitzvah. So you're trying to tell me maybe we're talking about charishas ha'aymer? No. Even if we are talking about charishas ha'aymer, it's still not a mitzvah. So you have no raya that even a mitzvah will not be Deicha Shabbos. No, in this case, you could learn out that the katzar the katzer of the for the Karban Omer will be the Shabbos. Frak the Gemara, Esver Ravina Rava, Ravina asked the Kasha to Rava, Yatsa Ava Makis V'noi, Rava Roy this Talmid, Shliach Bezdin. Our Mishnah said the case that somebody whose father who hit his son, or a Shliach Bezdin, or a Rebbe hitting his Talmud, in all these cases will be excluded from the situation of Galus because they were doing with a mitzvah. Why are they going to be pater? Lema kivin dilu gamer lav mitzvah hashtanami lav mitzvah. Same thing we said before. Say, since just like we said kivin dem matzah charash and charash, say like this: kivin dilu gamer lav mitzvah. Since if you would have learned it already before, he would have behaved. He would have learned the thing that you're trying to teach him, or the person the shliach bezdin. If he wouldn't have done the isser, right? It's not a mitzvah. He doesn't have a mitzvah now to hit his son stamazai. So how can you learn out? And for the Gemara, Hasam Afal Gav, the Gomer Nami Mitzvah Kavod. Just like we said before in Naman Aleph, since even if the son or the Talmud learns, it's still going to be a mitzvah. The Ksiv Yaser ben Chaviani Checha. Hadram Rava, then Rava said Lav Nosi Damri. No, I could have said better, right? I could have said better. It was this is not a thing that I said. The Bach adds in the words my time. Oh, why? Ktsira dumi the charisha. When it says ktsira, it's similar to the charisha. Ma charisha matzah charash and chayresh. Just like the charisha, if you plowed it, if you found it plowed, you don't have to plow. Af ktsira nami, and if you take a peek over into the Bach, a nice aleph, he just changes a bunch of words over here. You see where it says, Bach says, my time iktsir v'cholu, little aleph.
But Bach, by the aleph?
Yeah, Gemara Lav Nosi. See it?
For the first Bach.
First Bach, yeah. Gemara's Lav Nosi, the Amri my time iktsir v'cholu. So he says, he's continuing in the Gemara, the Gemara said, just like Becharisha, matzah charash is you don't have to plow. Af ktsira nami matzah katzer ene kaitzer. By ktsira also, if you found it harvested, you don't have to harvest. Yatza ktsira aimer. This excludes the cutting for the aimer. Shafilu matzah katzer mitzvah lektzar. By ktsira aimer, you do have a mitzvah to cut. Ulahavi and to bring. In other words, even if you found it cut, you still have to bring. And that means that the charisha that means so now if Isak daitach mitzvah, and if you're thinking that by cutting that we're talking about the katzir of mitzvah, matzah katzir ain't a katzir mitzvah. Back to the Gemara, liksar lahavi. It's a mitzvah to go and be cut and bring it. So it must be talking about in the pasuk when it says ktsira, it's not a mitzvah because the charisha that we're talking about is not a mitzvah, and the ktsira is dumi to the charisha. So it must be that when we say ktsira, it's not talking about the ktsira saimer, and therefore we say that according to Rabbi Shmuel, you have a good limit to say that if it's a ktsira of mitzvah, you're going to be pater. You're it's Deicha Shabbos. Okay? Zak the Mishnah. Masnisen. Ha'av gerla yidei ben. A father goes to Galus through his son. That means a father, who killed his son b'shaygeg, then he goes to Galus. Ben gerla yidei av, and the son, if he kills his father b'shaygeg, he's going to go to Galus. Hakol gerla na'adei Yisrael. Everyone goes to Galus by killing a yid b'shaygeg. Yisrael gerla na'adei, and the Gemara is going to explain who the everyone is. And Yisrael goes to Galus if he kills them. Chutz miger taishav. Except for a ger taishav. A ger taishav, if a yid kills a ger taishav, he's not going to go to Galus. The ger taishav, now the goyin changes the gersa over here. Instead of saying ene goyla, the goyin says, based on a couple of things, including Gemara in the next Amud, says the ger taishav, a ger taishav, goyla aidei ger taishav. He does go to Galus by killing another a ger taishav by mistake.
What's the status of a ger taishav? He's a ger, he's not a ger.
Gemara's going to talk about this, right? I'll take a sneak peek on looking 4 lines from the top on Daf Tesamad Aleph.
You see, it says ger toshav chulu. Alma ger toshav kachavim hu ema seifa. Al ger toshav is go la de ger toshav. This Gemara's question is going to be, what's going on up here? What's a ger toshav? Let's Bez Hashem for tomorrow. Okay, Zak the Gemara. Ha'av go la de haben. Your Mishnah said that a father goes to Galus by killing the son.
Yemarav used to say that the Zakaron is a ganef.
Yeah.
What does it mean? The Zakaron tells you saw it someplace, but it's really stealing it from elsewhere. So the Zakaron is a ganef.
Yeah, it's a good line. Okay. So, Umar says, the Mishnah said that a father goes to Galus if he kills his son b'shegeg. In fact, the Gemara, it excludes a father who hit his son, and that's mashma the father doesn't go to Galus if he kills his son by mistake. The Gemara, no, Dugamer. That's talking about a father's teaching his son Torah, and we're talking about a case where the kid did learn, and the father shouldn't have hit him, and therefore he goes to Galus. You said even if if the kid did learn, it's a mitzvah because Yasser bin Chavyani Pasuk in Mishlei, and for the Gemara B'Shil Yidinagri, he's not teaching him Torah, he's teaching him as an apprentice for carpenters. In fact, the Gemara Shil Yidinagri Yusehi. If a person is teaching his son how to be a carpenter, then he's teaching him parnasa, and he's teaching him parnasa, then that's also a mitzvah. The Gemara learns out in Kedushin from a pasuk, Re'ichaim Misha V'Havta. The Gemara darshans over there that we're talking about. A father has to teach his son an omnus. Yeah. So if that's the case, then that's a mitzvah also. And for the Gemara
brings the pasuk over here.
Gemara brings the pasuk Kehalas and learns it out from Limud to So you see that's a mitzvah also. And for the Gemara, no, you know why it's not a mitzvah? Because it's the Gemara omnus achriti. He had already taught him a different omnus. So he taught his son how to be a computer programmer. And now he's teaching him how to be a carpenter, but he already taught him an omnus, he could be a computer programmer. So he doesn't get a mitzvah for teaching him how to be a carpenter now. And then when he killed him by mistake, he has to go to Galus.
It wasn't like today we have to have two jobs to make a living.
That's true. That is true. Okay, Zaktum Arvaiter. The son goes to Galus if he killed the father by mistake. In fact, the Marav Ramini, I'll ask you, the pasuk says, "Makin nefesh prat l'maka aviv." It says by the pasuk by Ari Miklat, it says, "Lana shama kol makin nefesh b'shgaga." To run over there to the Ari Miklat, somebody who's making nefesh b'shgaga. And the Brisa says, makin nefesh is prat l'maka aviv. It excludes somebody who hit his father because. The Rashi explains that the limud is make nefesh goes to Galus, somebody who's only going to be chayiv because he killed somebody's nefesh, right? But a son will be chayiv even if he gives his father chabura, he's chayiv misa. So it's not talking about a son. That's why it's prat l'makeh aviv. So what's pshat? It's Sir Tar Mishnah. Rav Kana lekasha, it's not shver. Haroshim and Harabanan. It goes back to the machlekes we had way back when in Sanhedrin between Rav Shin and Rabbanan. Whether chenek is chamer or sayif is chamer, hereg is chamer. L'Rab Shimon, according to Rab Shimon, Damar chenek chamer mi sayif, that he says that chenek is more chamer than sayif. Shigas sayif nitin l'kapara, shigas chenek lo nitin l'kapara. A shegig of a chi of hereg is good. You can get a kapara for it. You can go to Galus. But a shegig of chenek, person cannot get a kapara because it's more chamer. What's going on over here? A person killed his father by mistake. He really did two asurim. One is he gave his father a chabura, and that's chayiv chenek. And two is he killed his father, that's chayiv hereg. Right? That was a b'shoigig, right? But it's two different isurim, right? So now what's more chamer? According to Rab Shimon, the chenek of chabura of his father is more chamer than the hereg of killing his father. So according to Rab Shimon, which einish should he be getting? He should be getting chenek. Now it was a shoigig. He's not going to get an einish. Yeah, he's not going to get a einish. But if he was getting an einish, he'd be getting chenek. For chenek, that's more chamer. The Torah never said that's something that's so chamer like chenek a person goes to galus for. Mar said for a shogig of hereg, of killing somebody, if a person kills somebody, he gets hereg. So a shogig of that, he goes to galus. But shogig of chenek, That's much worse. Who says Galus works? And that's why Rav Kana explains that the brisa that says Maka Nefesh Prat Lamaka Aviv that excludes a father is going like Rab Shimon. The Rabbanan, our Mishnah, is going like the Rabbanan. And according to let me read again. The Rab Shimon, Damar Chenek Chamar Misayif, according to Rab Shimon, who says Chenek is more Chamar than Hereg, Shiga Saif Nit La Kapara, a Shegig of Hereg, a person get Kapara of Galus for that. Shiga Chenek Nit La Kapara, but the Shegig of Chenek, of Chabura of his father, he has no Kapara on, and therefore, in this case, he won't go to Galus. The Rabbanan, that's the second brisa. The Rabbanan, the Amri Sayef Chamar Michenek, and this is the Mishnah. The Rabbanan would say that a hereg is more Chamar than hereg av b'shoigig shiga sayefu. Somebody killed his father b'shoigig. It's going to be a shiga sayef, and the chabura part is chenek, which is less Chamar, right. And shiga sayef nit la kapara. And the shiga sayef you can get a kapara for. So that's how Rav Kana learns. And it's very neat. The Mishnah is going according to the Rabbanan, and the Brisa is going according to Rav Shimon. Rav Amar, I want to say it's even neater. No, when the Brisa, really the Mishnah and the Brisa are both going according to the Rabbanan. And really, Hereg is more Chamar than Chenek. And we don't have to go like the Das Yachid of Rav Shimon here at all. But what's the Brisa mean when it says Prat L'Maka Aviv? It doesn't mean prat to somebody who kills his father. It's prat lois chabura b'avav b'shegeg. You would think that maybe so that the person who gets a chabura and does not kill his father, but makes a wound in his father, b'shegeg goes to galus. Why? I would think he would have been bemezid bar ktala, who since bemezid somebody who hits his father a chabura, he gets killed b'shegeg nami ligli, so he should be able to get when he does b'shegeg, it's a step less. And he should be able to go to Galus, K'mashpulon, that somebody who's Oisa Chabur of Aviv does not go to Galus, but you would think he does, and that's what the Pasuk had to tell you, that he does not go to Galus. Zaktimar Vaiter. Akol Golin al Dei Yisrael v'chulu. Now, whenever it says Hakol in the Mishnah, like we had in the first Mishnah, it said Zaklal, right? Hakol Golin al Dei Yisrael l'suyimai. What's the Hakol coming to include? And for the Gemara, l'suyi eved v'kusi. It's coming to be marba an eved or a kusi. That means if an eved or kusi killed, we're going to talk about a killed yid or was killed by a yid. Al Yidei Yisrael means that the eved or kusi killed the Yisrael. Frak the Gemara, Zak the Gemara, Tanin Lahadu Tan Rabbanan. We learn in our Mishnah by saying that we're coming to include an eved v'kusi. This is saying what we already have in a brisa. What's the brisa? Eved v'kusi goyla v'loy kal de Yisrael. An eved and a kusi could go to galus or get malchus based on things they do to a yid. And Yisrael goyla v'loy kal de kusi v'even. And a yid can get galus based on something that the yid did to a kusi or an eved. In fact, what's going on here? Bishlam eved v'kusi goyla al de Yisrael v'loy it's good the case that says that an eved or a kusi that does something against the yid could both possibly go to galus and go to malchus. So goyle the katle. If he goes to galus, the case will be because he killed him. The eved or kusi killed the yid, he'll go to galus. And if he in the case of getting malchus, because of what the eved or kusi did to a yid, is he cursed him, right? You're not allowed to curse a yid, so he cursed him. He's going to go with Hashem Hashem. He's going to get malchus. But the other case in the Mishnah in the Raisa that says that Yisrael goes to galus and gets malchus because of what he did to a kusi. Bishleima goyle the katle. I understand. The case of goyle is he goes to galus because he killed him. That's good. Elalaika amai the latye. What's going to be the case of laika that he gets malchus? That he cursed him. That means the yid cursed the eved or kusi. V'nasi ba'amcha. It says by cursing, the chiyuv of cursing is ba'amcha, and eved or kusi is not an amcha. So how could you say that he's going to get malchus for cursing a guy? V'nasi ba'amcha loisar ba'isam aysamcha. But we remember this even not by a nasi. Elam Rav Bar Yaakov, and for the Gemara Rav Bar Yaakov says, "Going shahid by the hozam." The case that a yid gets malchus through a guy through Eved V'Kusi, is that he was made against an Eved that, I don't know, maybe this Eved ate Chelev, right? And Avadim have mitzvahs like an Isha, and they get Malkus for doing things like that. V'huzam, and it turns out that he was Muzam. So he wanted to give the guy Malkus, he's going to get Malkus now. The Kavasei Gabi Eved, Shehed by V'huzam, you're going to tell me that the case by Eved, where the Eved did this to the Yid, is that the Eved said Edus on the Yid and he got Huzam and now he's going to get Malkus? Because the two cases are parallel. Case by the guy to the Yid, the Eved to the Yid, and the Yid to the Eved. Eved bar Edus, who is an Eved capable of doing Edus, and the Eved is not Kashal Edus. Elam Ravach Breder Vikas, Ravach Breder Vikas says the following. Hacham Meiskin in our case is.
But someone's saying it's Edus on the Eved.
That's the first case. But then the Gemara asks, so flip it around. Because the Brisa said two cases. One is the case of the person said Edus on the Eved, right? The Eved's going to go to, the Yid is going to go to Galus because of what he did to the Eved, or the Eved's going to go to Galus based on what he did to the Yid, right? So if you're saying that the case of the Yid is going to go to Galus because he was made on the Eved and he was Hozam, that's good. But how could you say the flip side, where the Eved is going to go to, I'm sorry, not Galus, Malkus. How can you say the flip side, where the Eved's going to go get Malkus because he was made on the Yid? There's no such thing. An Eved can't be made on a Yid, right? So how can he get Malkus in that case? Because whenever you have a Reish and a Seifa, generally speaking, it's the same Akimta. It's the same case, right? So the Gemara answers, and Rav Bar Yaakov says the following. I'm sorry, I went back to the lines. The last line on the bottom, Rav Bar said, the case that we're talking about over here is Kunchi Ko Haka She'en Ba Shava Pruta. He hit him a Haka that doesn't have a Shava Pruta. The Amar of Ami Amar Yechanan, Rav Ami said name Rav Yechanan, Hiko Haka She'en Ba Shava Pruta Loika. Somebody who hit somebody and it doesn't have a Shava Pruta in the Makkah. If it's a Shava Pruta, you have a special limud that you don't get Malkus, you have to pay. But if it's no Shava Pruta, you can't pay that, so then Loike gets Malkus. And V'loi Makshin Haka L'klala. And there's a Shaila, the Gemara in Sanhedrin on Daf Pei Hey, that we had this, and the Gemara said, it's a Shaila whether or not the P'tur of Ba'amcha that you say by cursing is Negea to Haka also, right? So if we're not makishet, then Haka is also going to be chayiv on, even if it's not Isa Meisa Amcha, and therefore you be chayiv. So the Ravach Bar Breder Ikos Akimta over here is going only according to that Mandiyamar over there in Sanhedrin that you're not makish Haka L'klala. Okay.
Okay.
That's Daf Ches.
Okay.
Okay. Shkoyach.